Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today on Giving Tuesday. My name is Gabby, and I am here with Tyler and Summer, who are two of our wonderful Boys Town alumni from the class of 2012. So today we are celebrating Giving Tuesday by having both of these alum join us to talk about their experience at Boys Town and how it shaped them and how it's helping them in their career path today. So we really appreciate you all joining. And if you have any questions for Tyler and Summer as we go through our chat, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Make sure you give this video a like, and if you feel so inclined to make a donation to Boys Town on this Giving Tuesday, we would really appreciate it, and we do have the donate button set up on this video for you to click and easily donate from there. So, Tyler and Summer, how are you two doing today?
Doing great. Happy to be
Doing
here.
pretty good.
Awesome. Well, we really, like I said, appreciate having you on and looking forward to, hearing a little bit more about what your time at Boys Town was like. So go ahead, let's start. I know we just introduced your names, but if you want to tell us both a little bit about who you are and what your connection to Boys Town is.
Sure. I'm Summer Lemley. I graduated Boys Town in 2012 after being a youth here in the program for 4 years. After Boys Town, I went to college, got a degree in psychology. I worked as a caseworker for the state of Nebraska for a few years. I worked here at Boys Town in the admissions department for a few years. Before earlier in 2021, my husband and I actually are family teachers now. So we started here, we opened our home back in March. So it's kind of full circle, and we're here now, and we have a house full of boys, and we love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tyler, what about you?
Yeah, so similar to Summer, I was a part of the graduating class of 2012. I got to Boys Town my senior year of high school, and I participated in sports and everything there. Football was one of my biggest things, so I ended up going to attend the University of Nebraska Kearney and then transferring as a student athlete to Black Hills State University, ultimately receiving my bachelor's degree in exercise science. Um, Following that, I went back to New York City, where I'm from, and my relationship continued with Boydstown. I would always visit, and even then on, as an adult in my career, I would help send more kids that needed Boys Town to Boys Town, and then that's still what I currently do. And I go and check in on them, and they have became alum and are becoming alum as we speak. So I've continued to keep a relationship close with some of my peers and staff at Boys Town, and continue that relationship as we go along.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate everything you've done, both of you. To still be so intertwined and connected is really amazing. And I think it's a great testimony to, the program and its services. So that's great. So if you could please briefly touch on your life before Boys Town. You don't have to go super in depth or anything, but what was it like leading up to moving into Boys Town?
Sure, I can take this one. So um, I started, I entered, I guess, the foster care system at 6 years old. Um, Kind of spent some time in and out of foster homes up until I was 11 when I was adopted. Um, by that point, things were kind of rough for myself. And so when I was adopted, I had a tough time connecting with my adoptive family. And that struggle is what ultimately placed me at Boys Town. So I lived with my adoptive family for 3 years before um, coming to Boys Town and admitting into the family home program. Um, yeah, and so that my time just helped me mend and build and recreate and create for the first time some of those relationships with the family that um, chose me and that I chose.
Yeah, that's great.
As far as myself, my life before Boys Town was pretty hectic and rather unstable growing up. I bounced around from apartment to apartment in New York City, family member to family member, growing up in a single mother household. So I didn't know my father, and my mother had to take care of five of us at the same time while dealing with her own issues. And going through many periods of homelessness, living in basements and abandoned houses and things like that. I just never had family chemistry,
Yeah.
and I never had real mentorship until my teenage years, which is kind of what led me to being connected to Boys Town. Was after so many years of struggle and things like that. Some other adults realizing that I needed a place that had structure and guidance and something in place for me to best prosper at. So life before Boys Town was rather chaotic, and there was a lot of uncertainty between meals, between places to stay, between security, and what love and community was supposed to feel like amongst my inner circle. So
Right.
that's what it was like before getting to Boys Town. Um, and again, there was that bridge of particular programs that helped me, kind of build that connection to Boys Town and get over there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, we appreciate you sharing that. I know it's probably not easy to talk about, so thank you for sharing. So then, upon entering into Boys Town, what surprised you when you first got there? What was special about it compared to life beforehand?
For me, I guess the biggest thing that I noticed was kind of a sense of forgiveness, I would say. There all of the girls in the home that I lived in had their their whole slew of mistakes that they'd made and in the home before coming to Boys Town, their whole life, and myself included, doing the same kind of stuff. But then coming to Boys Town, and it was just kind of like a fresh start. Um, any of the hiccups that I had, any mistakes that I made, um, were forgiven pretty quickly, and it wasn't something that was held over my head, um, or that I had to, I don't know, um, kind of make up for or pay back
Right.
for my actions. It was kind of forgiven. We move on and we do better next time.
Yeah.
Um, and that was really really cool for me. And then of course a family style.
Yeah.
Um, I bounced around in a lot of homes growing up, and so having this stable, solid family style house was so important.
Mm-hmm.
Just really set the tone for my time at Boys Town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go next, and I'm going to lighten the mood up just for a quick second. I think the biggest surprise to me was the cornfields in Nebraska, coming all the way from New York.
Yep, that's
No,
not a surprising answer coming from you.
no, but that's but all in all seriousness, um, you know, spacing for me was huge. Obviously, New York in general is a very clustered city, but it's even more clustered when you grow up underprivileged and you grow up in a hostile environment. And so for me, going somewhere that allowed me to actually feel like I had my own personal space, and I was allowed that personal space, obviously within the context of the situation. It meant a lot to me because people, like Summer said, were patient with me. Learning, you know, peace.
Yeah.
They were patient with me, learning to accept love and taking feedback and all of the things that should be normal for a teenager. Growing up, teenagers are rather trying to figure out who they are in the world. And,
Yeah.
growing up in my environment, I was never allowed to do that. It was always about survival rather than thriving. So I was always trying to survive rather than thrive in my old environment. And, uh, you know, I was surprised at the amount of love, support, listening to what I I felt and had to say from adults and community members, because that was not a thing I really had. It was, I was in my personal struggle, which was pretty severe, if you ask me, in relation to my neighbors and my friends.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the, immediate peers and adults around me were in their own thing, in their own little personal struggle or battles, because they were in the same community. So I never got the chance to be heard. I never got the chance to be, feel respected and feel loved. And when I got there, from anybody from my own family teachers to my peers in the house to the neighbors to the people at the field house or wherever the case was, you felt that sense of community, that sense of love, that sense of what do you have to say,
Yeah.
what do you need, and that support was everything to me, and that was surprising. I will say I did read something the other day that I want to throw out there.
Mhm.
That was an amazing stat from How Emotions Are Made. And basically, the stat is children in low income homes hear 125,000 more words of discouragement than praise by the age of 4. And children from higher income homes hear 560,000 more words of praise than discouragement by the age of 4. Now, the first part is more so where I'm getting at is that the fact of coming from that environment, if that's the standard, what is it like for somebody who's from a severely low income environment? What's it like for what is it like for those kids growing up? They don't ever feel that support. And when I read that stat, it resonated with me because that was the contrast. When I went from my environment to Boys Town, I went from almost hearing a lot of discouragement, what I couldn't do, what I might not be able to do, and it just negativity. Except for a select few peers and mentors. But when I got to Boys Town, it was almost 100% praise, positivity, and constructive criticism, not just harsh criticism to downplay, who I could potentially become. So I thought that was an interesting quote from the book How Emotions Are Made
Yeah.
by Lisa Barrett, and yeah, I just kind of had to run that by.
Yeah, I mean, that I really think puts into perspective what a lot of people probably don't know. For many of our youth that come into our programs is they're so used to being, beat down and discouraged and talked negatively to, and when they come here it's like a total flip. So I really am appreciative that you shared that. That's great. So now that you were at Boys Town, going through high school and everything, what all were you two involved in? I know both of you sports, ROTC, other extracurriculars. What were you involved in, and what was your favorite part about them?
Um, Over the course of my 4 years, I did a lot. Never sports though, not summer. So I participated in cheerleading.
That's a sport.
In the What's that?
Cheer is a sport. I did cheer too. It's a sport.
I did junior ROTC for 4 years. I was on student council. Um, I worked on the yearbook for a couple of years um, as a student ambassador. Uh, yeah, those are, I think, the highlights. Some of my favorite stuff, though, I really enjoyed being involved in junior ROTC. That was fun. I graduated as the Cadet Corps Commander, which was cool, I guess, to have that title, and earned a scholarship off of my time in ROTC. But I also really enjoyed working on the yearbook and creating something tangible. And I still have all of those, and they really hold the memories of my time at Boys Town in form of pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just loved being able to create that for myself and for everybody else.
Gosh, well, sounds like you were plenty busy.
She did it all.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And cheerleading is a sport, Summer. um, no, as for myself, I participated in football. I also participated in track. I was the captain of the track team as well. I love talking about this because it throws people in a wrench. I actually did do the chess club.
Yeah.
I was also in the Rubik's Cube club,
I didn't
and
even know they had that.
and that was one of my favorite things. Actually, I thought it was pretty cool because it was a brand new experience for me to figure out how to do a Rubik's Cube.
How fast can you do one now?
Oh, I can't. I needed to follow all the instructions.
Okay.
But I thought it was so great that they had those outlets because not everybody wanted to be an athlete per se.
Yes.
So I know they had the math club, they had the Rubik's Cube club, they had the chess club, and I was interested in all of those. And it was another outlet for me, actually, another outlet of experience, something I never experienced before, which I truly, truly appreciated about Boys Town, because otherwise it would have just been, one thing, which was sports. And I know the world is bigger than just the experience of sports. So that led me to do other things later in later once I left Boys Town as well to explore more.
Mm-hmm.
But those were the main four.
Yeah, that's great. You had, the physical engagement and then the mental. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, this can be really anything, but I'm curious to know, what are some of your standout memories during your time with us? If you have, one or two you'd like to share of something special you think everyone would be interested in knowing.
For me, it's just like tradition.
Yeah.
Um, there were so many of the things that my family teachers put into place in our home, and they had as their traditions for years before me, and I know that they still use those traditions now. Um, but a lot of those I've taken and I put them into, you know, my own home here with my husband and our boys.
Yeah.
As simple as like, we put up the Christmas tree the day after Thanksgiving. I have, um, just the smallest of things like pens on the table that are attached to a flower. Those
Yeah.
are those are traditions and things that my family teachers had that I put into my own home here. Um, and every time, something new comes up, my husband will say, "Well, what would your family teachers do?" And I'd say, "Oh, that's a good question. Here's
Yeah.
how we should do this." Um, and I didn't realize that they were like paving, I don't know, a how-to for me so many years in the future, but they were. And some of the other just the outings and the events and the things that we got to do together. Going to Okoboji was huge. Tyler, I know you loved Okoboji. The football games, getting ready for those together and going to those and celebrating a team and um, every tradition around Christmas, those events and those outings and those just experiences, I guess. Those are the things that are most memorable for me.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, for people watching, these are totally little things that you don't probably even think about. Eating family dinner together, decorating the tree, so many things that before our youth come to Boys Town, they have never done before. So that's so special just to know how much you remember all of them and now implement into your family home.
Mm-hmm.
So,
As far as my two, I mean, it's really hard to narrow down that list. There's so many awesome and wholesome memories that really did impact me in different ways too. So I'll throw out a few, but then I'll highlight two because it could be from selling honey for Honey Sunday. It could
yes.
be Lake Okoboji, which was vastly different for New Yorker being at the lake. Um, it could be my first football game, as a Boys Town Cowboy. Um, man, I'm going to point out. I'm going to point out too that I think for me personally was was super impactful, and I wanted to go with I wanted to go with one of my football games uh, that my senior year. I remember, and we were so much of a bond. I mean, the guys on the team, the coaches, everybody, and Boys Town does a really good job coming out and supporting whatever sport it is, like to the max, and that right there in itself is powerful for a kid that plays. But I remember this particular game, I was surprised to see. Going back to being able to bridge out to Boys Town. I had a couple of coaches and mentors that helped bridge that, and they had surprised me there at Boys Town. They were on the sideline, and I saw them. And then my mentors at Boys Town, my FTs, and everybody who showed me love at Boys Town and got me to Boys Town was at my this one particular game. It wasn't a championship game or anything. It was just a game. And I remember always looking in the stands. I didn't have my dad around. I didn't have my mom never came to games, so I was always looking for support at the games from outside of the team. And when I had the Boys Town staff and then my own mentors from New York all in the same place, it was just like I was like in heaven. I was in the best place I could possibly be. Mentally, physically. It was definitely it was definitely a special moment for me to realize that I do have people that love and support me. So that I would say is a highly memorable moment for myself. The second one, I would say is the booster banquet. I was honored to have received the Wagner Award um, my senior year, and as a part of that, I was asked to give a speech in front of the most people I've ever been in front of at that point in my life. Um, it was I can't remember, it was a few thousand, I believe, at the booster banquet. There was some NFL players and all these notable people, and I'm only used to being around my peers. I could laugh
Right.
and say a lot of things in front of my peers, but to be in front of all these people. But more importantly, why that was memorable for me is not the fact that I gave a speech. Obviously, that in itself was powerful, but was the reaction to it and the fact that I was able to, I realized I was able to relate to more of me's out there in the audience, my peers. You know, as you go through Boys Town, you don't forget, but it, your peers have a similar, some sort of background story as well. And the fact that I was up there and then I came off and then they all, you know, some were crying, hugging me and saying, you know, it was heartfelt, and it just showed that, you know, I have also the ability to impact. And Boys Town gave me the ability, gave me the platform to showcase that I can impact others, and that's really what sparked my interest in wanting to, you know, mentor and help kids later on. Um, that put me over the top because I was able to see that I can impact my peers and I can impact those who might not have my background either, but I can connect that through my struggle. So I can turn my, you know, prior struggle into something inspirational and something that will help the next person from going through their own individual struggle. So that those two memories for me are probably my best.
Yeah. And for those of you watching live today on Giving Tuesday, we do have Tyler's takeover on our Facebook stories and our Instagram stories. So he does share some other good memories involving Okoboji and maybe even a lawnmower. But you'll have to see on our stories to know what I'm talking about. So check those out.
I do love that story.
I know, it is a good one. Okay, so next is what did you do? I know you said it briefly in the beginning, but to after Boys Town, what did you both go on to do after that?
The summer after I graduated Boys Town, I, for the first time in 4 years, lived with my parents again, my adopted family, for the 3 months between graduation and starting school in August. I did 4 years at the University of Nebraska here in Omaha. I joined a sorority, met some of my best friends. Then when I graduated there, I became a caseworker for the state of Nebraska for a few years, and then came back to Boys Town and worked in the admissions department. So I traveled primarily to Michigan, and I helped work on contracts and creating contracts for Boys Town to bring in kids, kids who would be a good fit for Boys Town, that Boys Town would be a good fit for them. And kind of followed them along in their time at Boys Town and just tried to be an extra support person for their team. Let's see, after that, I did that for about 3 years. And then just this past spring, like I said, my husband and I opened our family home here. We are in a boys community, and we have 4 teenage boys that live in our home with us and our 2 dogs. They keep us pretty busy.
Yes, I'm sure. That's great.
Okay, so after I left Boys Town, I again went to University of Nebraska Kearney. Then I transferred to Black Hill State University, where I played collegiate football and graduated with my bachelor's in exercise science. Um, once I well, when I was there, I also, you know, started a couple of programs. So I started 2 student organizations. One was the Exercise Science Club, where I, you know, would connect you know, keynote speakers and, you know, engage in like lab exercises and things like that, and just try to connect my peers more academically. to the major. And then another one was kind of like a spirit organization.
Yeah.
Again, Boys Town kind of helped me transition um, my skill set to be more versatile. So started something like that where we would do fun things and on campus engage the community more. Um, Once I got done with my bachelor's degree, I moved back to New York City, um, and I started so I started personal training after I got certified. So I got a couple of uh, major certifications in my field of strength and conditioning, which is what I do by career. I train athletes. They're the at the college level they call them the get back coach, or the that we're known to be the guys that get the team hyper, but we're also the guys that get the team really fast and strong.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so that's what I am by career. But when I went back, I was just a personal trainer, and I was training some athletes here and there, um, and coaching youth football. And then I was fortunate enough to reconnect with some mentors that I consider very close friends as well. And they started up a company which kind of had a Boys Town similar model, and I hope to be a part of that process and getting that up and running in New York. Um, which ultimately, is called About You outreach, and basically, it's a program that you know to this point has helped underprivileged kids bridge the opportunity gap, and has helped kids get millions of dollars in scholarships. And now I have I'm able to say I've been able to help many kids across the country as part of their journey to play not only college sports but become better and more resourceful citizens in their communities through that nonprofit organization I became a part of. So I became the director of programming for a while, where I would oversee training concepts for athletes. We all mentored. We would host events, and again, I coached high school football, and we would get contracted to different high schools. So I was really, really busy, just running around New York City helping kids, in a nutshell, training kids, helping kids, and coaching football. So I did that for a while, and then recently, during the 2020 year, my partner and I moved out to the Black Hills. So we returned to the Black Hills recently, and I reconnected with a buddy of mine who's a physical therapist and owns a company called Physio Performance. And for him and his company, I came in as the director of strength and conditioning, and also the director of community engagement. So with that, I oversee over 7 programs from a training perspective, youth all the way to professional leagues. Um, and I interact with thousands of kids throughout the week. And so far, it's been a blast over here. And every now and then, we'll have some events in New York that I go out and help with showcases as well. Um, which is pretty awesome. So I try to stay as connected as possible to all of the kids I interact with over the years, and just continue to build on those experiences. Oh, I should mention that about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I also went back to school and received my master's of exercise science as well
Congrats.
from the University of Chicago Concordia. So that's another achievement that I guess I had since I left Boys Town.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's a really long way to say a few things
Yeah.
since I left Boys Town.
Awesome. Well, geez, you two are, really doing the most when it comes to giving back to kids in your community. So I'm truly amazed at both of your resumes, I guess I could say. But that's so great. So, do you think if you hadn't gone to Boys Town, would either of you be doing what you're doing today?
Certainly not. um, Boys Town connected me with a lot of the kind of resources and the people that have put me here. I don't know that I would have even known about Boys Town. I grew up in Iowa, which isn't too far from here, but I don't know that I would have ever known what Boys Town was, or what a family teacher is, or what's a point card. I don't know. Those are just things that wouldn't have come into my world if I hadn't come into this world.
Yeah.
And even before that and beyond that, the kind of path that I was going down before I was placed here, I don't even think that I would have had the chance to be successful, quote unquote,
Right.
successful, to participate in activities in high school or to go to college or, you know, to have these this career path that I have now. It wouldn't have been in the cards for me. You know, I met my husband because of Boys Town. I just, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be this summer.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I wouldn't be where I'm at without Boys Town, to answer your question in a few words.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would have ended up in the same spot without Boys Town. I don't think that's actually a realistic way of thinking because of the impact that it had. The and I wasn't there at Boys Town as long as Summer, but the amount of quality experiences that I had received while I was there played a huge part in shaping me as a young man, entering the world. You know, so um, I think when I got to Boys Town, I was in a space of understanding it's important to be able to receive help, right? Because at that point, I was like more open to receive help to even be able to get to Boys Town. But I'm not sure about the community aspect or the giving back on a large scale.
Yeah.
Like Boys Town has. I don't think I would have been able to understand that the way I understand that now. Um, you know, um, I just don't see it. I just don't see having been who I am without that Boys Town experience. Ultimately, again, like I said before, just the little things like, the Rubik's Cube Club and, the chess club. Those things allowed me to be more explorative about, my skills and, things that I like.
Yeah.
So after I left, I started doing more things that I like, which is how I ultimately ended up starting a student org that was completely left field for a football player. So
Yeah.
things like that, and it allowed me to be more brave. Honey Sunday, it allowed me to not be so shy in front of strangers. Make sure I meet everybody through the door. Expanding my social skills. Um, being from people from all over the world, quite literally. I remember I had a teammate all the way from Ireland at Boys Town. I had another peer on the wrestling team who was from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And kids from Florida. So I didn't have that versatile experience outside of Boys Town. So there were so many small and big moments and memories and experiences that I had at Boys Town that ultimately, you know, uh, made me much more ready for the real world and more qualified to do what I'm doing now.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you both for sharing. So, last question. Why do you think it's important for viewers to support Boys Town during Giving Tuesday and beyond?
For success stories, they're the kids who are here, the kids who will be here in the future, and the staff who work here. We couldn't do what we do without the donations and the help from people who care and people who support the mission. And I see that more now as I'm on this side of things. The opportunities we're afforded for our kids, they're opportunities that they wouldn't be possible without donations. My husband John and I are in the process of getting ready for Christmas, and I may have gone a little overboard for our first Christmas, but I really want to make this time of year something so special for them because it meant so much to me as a kid. But I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to decorate our home and get the gifts that I want for these kids without the help of donors, and that's a very, maybe materialistic thing, but the other side of that is teaching these kids, traditions and life skills and having a home cooked meal every night. Those are things that we can't do. We can't function without donations and support of people who care for Boys Town and care for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many reasons I would say that on a day like Giving Tuesday that we need people to continue to donate and support the Boys Town. Experience matters, support matters, love matters, being heard matters. Um, you know, gaining a more refined and better education matters. And when you support Boys Town on a day like Giving Tuesday, and just in general, continuing on, it allows those resources to remain in place and even become better for people like myself that were there. People that wouldn't otherwise become, a giving citizen or somebody who gives back to the world. Like, you're giving to the world when you give to Boys Town, because Boys Town it's a world in itself, and then that world multiplies when those people graduate and become alum, like myself and like Summer and like many of those that we graduated with. So that's why supporting Boys Town and donating Boys Town matters, because when those resources are in place, it allowed the Tylers of the world to go learn how to cultivate and get hands-on skill sets. It led the Summers of the world to know how to take constructive feedback for one day when she had to go and actually get a job herself and pay her bills. It allowed for a lot of our peers to understand uh, how to be leaders in their community, and how to interact with their peers in a positive manner, and now not to be so introverted in a world that has a land of opportunities. So when you donate and support the Boys Town, it allows those resources to continue to be available for so many kids who will one day be adults, like myself and Summer, that will ultimately be giving back to the world at a much higher rate, because you're multiplying the hearts at that point. So that's why it's extremely important to continue
Great, you're
to support
showing
places like
kids.
in Boys Town here.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. But yes.
we have so many thoughts. When you show these kids that there are people out there that care about them that aren't in their inner circle, and you know that you can care about people that you don't know, that creates this mindset in them that, oh, that's something I could do too when I get to that point, and I can pay it forward when I have the funds, or I have the skills, or whatever the case may be. We've got 4 teenage boys in our house right now, and I hope that everything that we're showing them now, they take it into their own lives in the future, and they know how much of this stuff that they have in their home comes from donors. They know, and so to be able to show it to them, I feel like is putting them in a place where they want to do the same, because it means so much to them now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really, a gift to Boys Town, just as you both said, is a gift that really keeps on giving. So as we, finish out the rest of our Giving Tuesday through Christmas and the year end and into next year too, we really hope that you consider donating to Boys Town, because we know you have a lot of different charities today to choose from, but, here we have 2 incredible success stories with Tyler and Summer that is a true testament to just how much Boys Town changes youth and changes them into adulthood. So, for all of you watching, thank you so much for taking time to hear more of Tyler and Summer's story. And to Tyler and Summer, thank you for joining and for sharing.
Of course, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes, everyone have a great rest of your Giving Tuesday, and we'll see you in our next live. Bye-bye.